Hello, welcome to Transform You. And this is Dean Sunseri and HollyKem Sunseri, where we do live coaching. And we're honored and privileged to have Tara Wiskow from Minnesota on with us today. Welcome, Tara. And we'd love for you to introduce yourself and then tell us what you would like to work on today.
Yeah, well, thank you to both you, Dean and Holly, for having me this morning. I'm really, really excited. I've been looking forward to this all week long, knowing that I would have this special session with you this morning. So, as Dean said, I'm Tara Wiskow. I am an intuitive energy practitioner working with women to help them to love themselves unapologetically and live authentically. Also, a mindset weight loss coach that, again, working with women in that space. What do
Awesome.
I want to work on today? I've really thought about this and put a lot of time and energy and really connected inward with myself to ask what is the one thing that I know is a block for me or a struggle that I need to have that time and guidance through. And for me, it's my belief or my struggle with believing that I have the ability to maintain the the level of success business wise that I want for myself.
Mhm.
That seems to be a continuous cycle of block for me in moving to the level of success that I desire to have. And I know I'm capable of having.
Good. Love this.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, you're gonna okay, good. I'll go. Um, okay. So have you ever reached that level in any other thing that you were doing for business? Like if is this new, like what you're doing right now in this particular business, like being a life coach and a weight coach and all of that, is this new? How long have you been doing this?
So I've been a weight loss coach for a little over 11 years and
Okay.
I've been the CEO, the founder of the business and have had fantastic success. This is a new calling that I've stepped into
Okay.
in 2024. I've had success. Have I ever reached my true level of success that I want? I'm going to say no. I'm going
Okay.
to say no.
Good. So you're a businesswoman, you've done it, and now you're jumping into a new thing, and you have this you see this vision and you
Mhm.
see this level of success that it's like going from here to here, and whatever's in the middle, I want to remove it.
Yes, very accurate.
Okay. I want to make sure I'm always seeing this right. I'm seeing it right. You got anything yet?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
I think it also begs the question that we all have successes and losses, right, in
Mhm.
our histories.
Yeah.
And so the thing is that when we go after a new success, it also potentially triggers some of the losses or some of the difficulties that we didn't get over, which
All right.
ends up becoming a mixture. So we have
Yeah.
one part seeking the next step, and we have another part that's remembering, like, remember Tara when this happened. Remember when this happened. And so you have those divergent energies, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
so that would be my question is that what is it that gets triggered when you start to push yourself to that next level? What comes up for you?
I've really tried to dive into that, and I think it's a couple of different things. I believe it's the fear of the success of it, that if
Yeah.
I reach
Mhm.
that level, what then? What then? And do I then get to like just enjoy it? How do I enjoy it? How do I just like be part of it and love it? And does that mean I have to, once I reach that level, do I now have to do something different? I think that's a big part that comes into it. I also feel like there's definitely the fear of, am I truly the person? Am I good enough for this? Am I
Yeah.
good enough to be called into this?
Okay.
Mhm.
I think that those are two big things. The worth, you know,
Right.
and when I'll go here first, and then we'll deal with failure. Um, the fear of success. Uh, this one, looking at just, thinking of, I always think of MC Hammer for some reason. If do you know who I'm talking about? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, when he made it real big, and, he had the big, big, big house and, worth a lot of money and, just had a good heart and wanted to help the people from where he came from. And
Right.
so, had everybody on the payroll and all of that. And then the next thing you hear is he's going bankrupt and he's lost his house, right?
Mhm.
So, as he's worked through himself, now he's a very successful businessman in the IT companies, right? But in that, it's like, okay, how could somebody, go to that high success
Mhm.
and then lose it, right? Lose all that wealth and all of, all that he built. Well,
Mhm.
one of the things that is it's about worth for all
Right.
of us. I'm just using him as an example. And when we don't understand that we are worthy because of messages that we've received, because of other things that have happened, then all of a sudden, what happens is as that starts to happen, then the second thing comes into play, which you said, the how I sabotage success, and that is exactly what sabotages the success without us realizing. It's all about the worth. It was like in I remember when Oprah was finishing her show, 25 years, and it was like, why was, people were like, why was she so successful? And she had this top rated show for 25 years. And I was like, I know. And what I knew was that she was the theme total overall was that she was building people's worth
Mm.
without anyone
Mhm.
ever knowing it. Maybe she knew it, maybe she didn't. I don't know. But it was a constant that if you watched that, you got validated and you realized that you were worthy of more than you received. You was worthy of more than what happened to you. You was worthy of more that there was out there for you. And it expanded all of our minds about and expanded our hearts that no matter what happened, we could continue to move, right? And there was
Mhm.
more for us. So in that, it's like what starts to happen to us is you said it. You have the answer. You have it that's it. It's that this my success I will sabotage it. And because a lot of people are like, what do you mean? Like I'm fear of success. It's the underneath thing is the wound is the worth. And it's
Mhm.
from the wounds of our lives. It doesn't always even have to do with business.
Right.
It's kind of
Right.
like I was thinking about a friend, a client. I call my clients friends, but that in her life she always comes in second.
Mm.
Okay,
Yes.
but
Yes.
she is a number one. She is a number one, but in her family she was always second
Hmm.
to
Mhm.
whatever the problems were in life. Her
Yes.
problems were important, but man, her sister's problems were really important. Her problems were important, but her mother's stress was really important. You know,
Sure.
you see what I'm saying? It was
Yes.
like she was important, but my God, her dad had to go to work, so she didn't tell him about it. So she was always second. And then in life, what keeps happening is she keeps being second. She
Yeah.
doesn't get that job or this thing or that thing. So it's like in that, when we dig back, it's like, what was the things that told me just because, not because no one, but maybe somebody meant it, but most of the time it's not on purpose, right? But
Yeah.
that the answer was that I wasn't enough.
Hmm.
Are you ready for a journey of self discovery and healing? Introducing A Roadmap to the Soul, a practical guide to love, compassion, and inner peace. This book offers practical tools and insights to navigate your inner landscape, release emotional blockages, and embrace your authentic self. Start your transformational journey today by getting your copy now. See the link in the description. And now, back to the lesson.
Right. Right. And are you asking like kind of
If
where
you
that?
want to share, but I'm just thinking like what comes to your mind, and it could be
Yeah.
anything. But
I
that
really, yeah, I think, as you're talking about that and as I'm listening to you and it's just kind of coming forward is, at 8 years old, I found out that who I thought was my dad was not my dad. And
Wow.
he was actually became my stepdad. And I had not known this. My aunt surprised me by telling me this. And I realized on that day, or found out on that day, that I had a dad that was my biological dad that didn't want
Hmm.
any part of my life. And I started to lose sense of my own identity at 8 years old,
Wow. Wow.
right? In a
Yes.
great, when you don't think about your appearance and how much that impacts you, but I'm brown hair, brown eyes, and in every picture you look at, my family, my mom and my dad, my stepdad,
Right,
and
your
two
dad. Right.
sisters are blonde and blue-eyed.
Uh-huh.
And I was entirely different across the board as far as personalities and likes and desires and wants. And even still today, I'm an entirely different entity and being. And I think that that plays more of a role than
Yes.
I realize, because now what's coming forward for me is abandonment and rejection.
Yes. You got it.
Mm.
So,
You on it.
yeah, yeah,
And Tara wanted to tell you that I'm sorry that you didn't know that because
thank you.
obviously you felt very loved and,
Yeah,
and you felt until 8 years old, you, the lie was real.
right,
He was your
right.
Right.
he is and he was your dad. The
Yeah,
problem was the message from the other father. So
right.
all their intentions, your mom
Mhm.
and dad's intentions to love you and protect you, unfortunately, and you did feel exactly what they want. You felt loved, belong, and okay, what's wrong with my sisters? Because I'm so cool with the black, the dark hair and the dark eyes, right? Like, you can't even get a tan, It's
You're
like
right.
right. It's like, I'm the pretty sister, haha. But then, right, then all of a sudden, the new message comes
Mm.
is what is that the message comes, you're not worthy of who you
Yeah.
really are
Wow.
without
Yeah.
ever saying that. But that's the message.
And I met my biological dad at
Mhm.
12. I
At
finally
12.
found, right, the nerve to do that. And then I lost him at 15 to cancer. And all over again was like that rejection. Okay, like, as a child, when you're young,
Yeah.
15 is young, and you don't think about it on a deeper level. You don't
Right.
understand it on a deeper level. It's like,
Right.
well, he rejected me again. He wasn't
Right.
willing to fight through that. And so he left
Right.
me again, right?
Exactly.
Not understanding it. So I'm so glad to have this conversation now to pull this out, because I'm seeing it's easy for me to abandon ship on myself and to reject my
Exactly.
Wow. Yes.
self-happiness.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
go ahead,
Because
because I got a
yes.
thousand things. I'm so excited. I love you.
Well, the challenge is this, is that we are primary caretakers.
Yeah.
Uh, we call it the protector, but there's a part of us that we develop to help us cope with life. And part of what becomes part of that is our primary caretakers, not at their best, but at their
At the
worst.
worst.
Hmm.
And so what has happened to us, we can do it to ourselves
Right.
Sure.
on some level. And so owning that is like the first huge step,
Yeah.
which you're doing awesome
Yeah.
at.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
and the second step is realizing, you know, beliefs that come with emotional memory are
Yeah.
really strong. Like
Yes.
And
we
it could be a lifetime.
right, we all believe in certain things. We all
Right.
develop self-beliefs.
Hmm.
But if those, and this is for the positive and the negative,
Hmm.
but if
Yes.
those beliefs that we develop are connected to highly charged emotional
Yeah.
events, then
Yeah.
they have a rootedness and a deepness that can be rooted out, but it takes a lot more work. We
Hmm.
had worked with a family one time who lost two siblings in an automobile accident. It was, I think,
Oh.
8 kids, and it was the oldest and the youngest that
Mm.
passed away. And after that happened, we got to work with the family years and years later
Like 12
about that
years. All the
because
siblings.
they lost their family due to that
Right.
painful experience. In terms, they all went separate
Oh,
ways, drug
sure.
addiction, parents got divorced. It was a mess. But we were able to get the siblings together and do a healing process, and they
Wow.
got their family back. It was really beautiful. But what was interesting was that each of them had a very, very different perspective
Mm-hmm.
of the same event.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Like
Yes.
one left with lots of guilt, one left with a real sense of abandonment and loss, one went into drug addiction and felt afraid. You know, they all had different experiences, but the same event. But those
Hmm.
emotionally charged beliefs that went with that
Mm-hmm.
particular event became entrenched, and they were amazed at how each one had different perspectives. So you have this story of at 8 years old, that's a whole paradigm shift. That's a huge emotional thing to digest for you,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And accompanied that is lots of different beliefs or beliefs that get entrenched. And so what you're saying is that, oh, I can see the connection
Yeah.
between some of those beliefs and what comes up for me now when I go to the next level
Yeah.
and putting those pieces together.
Well, I was going to say too is that, you know, in that when thinking when you're 8, right? Everything
Yeah.
above 8 years old is a sponge, right? So
Yes.
we just take it in. You know, kids, they repeat everything you say. You got to watch what you say. They do everything you
Yeah.
But at 8 years old, you know, moving from 8 to 9 is that like all of that becomes the back brain, right? And then you get your front lobes. And so then you start challenging everything that you've been taught. Like, why do we have to eat dinner at 6 o'clock? You know,
Yeah.
why do we go to bed at 9 o'clock? You know, it's like before you just did it, right? But now you want to know why. Okay. So here you are in that formative stage of this is your family, right? And if you didn't look like them, it was like, oh, well, I'm pretty. You know, it was all of that. But then you would have challenged it anyway. Even let's say
Sure.
that is your real mom and dad, right? And you would be like, well, your great grandmother looks exactly like you. Look, you know, and then you would have had answers, right? But then when the bomb hits, it's like you would have challenged everything anyway. But now it's like on a, you know, freaking huge scale. It's like SpaceX, you know, going to Mars and back, right? So it's like, there's so much. And and then you don't meet him for years, 4 years, and then he dies, right? So all of that, all of those messages of no message, you're trying to figure out, and they're all coming from a wounded place.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. So the part that for us, we do like 3 people, but the part is like, here's your true self and all you are and all the beauty and all the good and, everything God put in you. And then the part that has all these wounds, right? And the way it experienced it, saw it, and felt. And then the part that wants to handle all of that for us and figure it out. So,
Yes.
Obviously you've done well and you've worked a lot on that. And then here I am, every time you're going to go to the next level in anything, big things, this wound is going to be pushing, but where you see it more is in, don't want to do it, or, there's something holding me back that doesn't really make sense because it's invisible, but it's not. Right. So in that, it's like that underneath of the messages of the worthless and the messages of abandonment, that when there's an issue, it's like, am I dealing with the truth?
Sure.
I mean,
That
that's
makes
going to
sense.
be one of the underlying things. Can I trust?
Yeah.
So, if my life is settled in a true self way and I have a good life and I'm doing well, I want to go further. But they're like, why would you want to go further? You're going to have to trust.
Yeah.
And then the message is, am I worthy of the next level? And for me, one of the things that, I'm a recovering drug alcoholic. I've been sober 42 years. So obviously lots of work,
Awesome.
lots of dysfunction I come from. And there's wounds I have in my life that hopefully I will be able to love them enough where they won't still be there before I cross over.
Yep.
But it appears at this point, at 64 years old, they still need a lot of love.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I would have allowed myself to have inner peace is to say, you know what, HollyKem, so what if it takes to the day you see Jesus on the other side, that it's okay that you need this thing in you needs love to the day you cross.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that has brought so much peace. Instead of me saying, okay, we're not going to believe that anymore because it's, this is the real thing. This is really the facts that happened. It doesn't mean that he didn't love me. It means that he didn't love himself enough to love me, which would have been a nightmare, right? That's the truth, right? So
Right.
And it's like, okay, it affects me, but it wasn't about me, right? But in that, that doesn't mean that's how it feels. I can understand that intellectually, but how it
Yeah.
feels is
Yeah.
I wasn't good enough. And he never came
Yeah.
hunt me down. I had to hunt him down for 12, by the time like he had 12 years to find me before I found
Yeah.
him, right? So it's like
Yeah.
the message is no, wasn't important. So
Right.
for me, my parents got divorced. My dad didn't pay child support and all that. So it's a
Mm.
message too. You're not worthy. You're not
Yep.
important. So in that, it's like what this part of me is just all, for me, it's always like, no, it's okay. You are worthy. And I understand that you didn't feel worthy.
Yeah. I have a question
Yeah.
for you, Tara,
Yeah.
if you don't mind.
No,
What
I don't
is
mind.
your biological father's last name?
Richie.
Richie.
Oh,
Okay.
is that Richie?
Yeah.
Rich.
Like Ritchie. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Richie.
like rich,
Yeah.
RICH.
So,
Because you want to be successful, you want to be rich. Oh
And then I
my.
uh,
married a guy with last name Nichols. So I went from that to Nichols and then I left him and became Wisco.
uh,
Sorry.
gotcha.
Just
We're
So,
going to give you a last name Billion.
so
Go
this
ahead.
is this is one of my
Wow.
assignments I have for you.
Oh, I can't
okay.
wait to hear that. I'm like on the
All
edge of
right.
my seat.
So, so let me give you a little context for it. We adopted my son,
Yeah.
who's Cambodian, and
Okay.
he had 3 months, three and a
Hmm.
half months. One of one of the things of wisdom that we were given from someone else is that they said you need to tell him the story, the
Mm.
reality of his story,
Sure.
at the age and levels that he understands.
Okay.
So, it was never hidden from him that I mean, it was obvious. I mean, he's
Right.
Asian
Yeah.
eyes and he's darker than both of us, kind
Oh,
of thing.
right.
But
Darker than most.
but all along there was a rupture in the relationship with his biological mom.
Right.
Mm,
And that we carry that on some level, even though it's not an intellectual memory.
Yeah.
And so we really worked hard on validating that for him along the way and
Hmm.
told him the story at each age, like how he was given from his mom to
Hmm.
us, and she wanted him to have a chance to live in America and do, kind of thing.
yeah.
And he's really adjusted well. I mean, he has his own issues like anybody, but that's not one of them.
Mm-mm.
About being
Good.
adopted, about being
Mm-mm.
abandoned by his mom, his family, and this. Do you want to go to Cambodia? No,
No.
I'm Italian. He says, it's like
I love
so,
Go to
it.
Italy.
and and it's because we told him the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over and over.
So I, I want you to imagine that you have inside of you or sitting across from you, baby Richie,
Hmm.
and to spend some time telling her the story, but it's the hero's story. It's not a
Oh,
I love
tragic
that.
story. It's a hero
it is a
story.
hero story.
Yeah.
It's like this is where you were born, and this is the messy context that you were conceived in, whatever it was, and
Yeah.
as you understand it now, and this is what happened with your dad, your biological dad, and you also were given another dad, and that
Yeah.
you were loved by, whatever the story is, to write the story, but to write it from the perspective of it's a freaking hero's journey.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's your
Yes.
story. And you need to tell her that she's a hero,
Yes.
that baby Richie is a hero. She's not
Thank you.
abandoned.
No.
There's nothing wrong. She's not
Mhm.
unworthy.
Right.
But
Yeah.
look, she grew up as a pear in an orange orchard and was still able to be who she was. You know what I'm saying? It's like she was able and to just speak
She
from
was
your
the most beautiful,
perspective,
but she was a
Yeah.
pear.
I love that.
to speak to her from the perspective of you as an adult woman today that
Yeah.
understands all the factors and to tell her the story
Hmm.
and to
Beautiful.
actually write it out and kind
Right.
of imagine yourself telling your part so that that part can understand that you're not abandoned,
Hmm.
that you have tremendous worth and that you've
Thank you.
overcame
Right.
certain obstacles really to position yourself to where you are today.
Right. And yes,
Yes.
yes,
I
yes,
love that. I love
yes.
that. And I can see myself doing that. I can hear the things I need to hear. So thank you for that. That is fantastic.
And what I would do too is I would get a baby picture, a
Hmm.
little, as little as you can find of yourself to put in front of the in front of that, you know, thing. I would really make it a journal, and I would have a picture of you writing the story, and then anytime you need to tell that baby Richie something, that you would go there and tell her, because she's going to need to hear a lot of beautiful things for a long time, which is
Yeah.
not a bad thing, right?
No.
And in that, I would also, the first story that you wrote, I would actually record it on your phone in
Okay.
audio. And before you go to make a step in business, I would listen to it the night before.
Mm.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, because you would be listening. Because one of the things, like in coaching and counseling, one of the most powerful things is the client gets to hear their own voice saying
Sure.
the message of whatever they need to say.
Hmm.
So, yes, it is important for what the other person is saying to you, but it's when you say it, what happens between your mouth into your ear that touches your heart.
Sure. Yep.
So to have the story, read back to you in your own voice is going to be another level of love.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes. Both of that, just getting it, written and then speaking it and doing as you're
Yes.
suggesting, Holly Kim, that is fantastic. I love that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh, I got
Thank
chills all
you.
down my legs. This is it. I feel
Yes.
it. Wow.
Yes.
Are you the
Yes.
oldest out of the three, out of your siblings? I don't know
I
how many
have five.
siblings.
So five sisters. I'm the oldest. Yeah. So I don't have any like full, right?
Right,
Because
right. I understand.
I'm the pair.
You're the
And
bear.
yeah, so five sisters. I did lose one of my sisters just about 2 years ago to
Oh,
cancer.
I'm sorry.
So yeah, yeah, but five. Five.
Five.
Yes. All girls.
I
I'm
love. How did I know it was girls? I don't know.
yes.
Five. That's awesome. So yeah, and then so everybody knows the secret now. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Now,
Yep.
did you meet your grandparents from your biological or no?
I did, and actually it was my biological's dad. It was his mom, my grandma, that would show up all the time. And they always said my mom would always say, "Well, this is Tara's grandma," but I never understood it. I never understood why it was just
Oh,
Tara's grandma. And but she would come and bring treats for my sisters, Tanya and Trisha, and always like took them under her wing as if they were her own, but it was always Tara's grandma. And I
wow.
didn't
Right.
understand it until afterwards. Then it made sense. Almost made it even more confusing, even,
Yeah. Because she loved
So,
all of you.
yes. But then she was just Tara's grandma.
Right, right. It
Yeah.
was Tara's grandma, but with no explanation. But it was like she treated, your sisters lovingly too.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
So was it being different was good, or being different was in terms of your own self-belief once you started digesting it all? How did you digest being different?
Then it was bad.
It
It's
was
like if you're
bad.
different, then you're not wanted, you're not accepted. When I did meet my biological dad, and I had three sisters there that I met, I looked just like them. I was like a replica. I fit right in.
Wow.
Wow.
However, I always felt like I had to be somebody different. Like you drive 5 hours and show up with the family and think, okay, so now how do I act and how do I talk? Because their
Uh,
lifestyle was different. And
yeah.
then I'd go back home and now I was the pear with the oranges and looked nothing like them, and would have to then reintegrate myself into that family of how do I talk and how do I act and what do I do here? I always felt like I was never able to just be myself and I lost myself,
Yeah.
which
Wow.
makes sense now. I'm an identity like shifting expert of helping women to
Mhm.
own their identities. I understand now why my calling is what it is,
Yeah.
Yeah.
going through what I went through. But yeah, so I think hopefully I answered your question.
Or are your sisters on your father's side older than you or younger than you?
Younger. Everybody's younger. Yep, I was
Everybody's
the
younger. So
first.
you were the
Yeah.
first for both your parents. So you're number
Yes.
one. Okay.
Yep.
Which is
Yep.
which is great. It's a great to be number one, especially in this scenario, because we don't want you number two. You
Yeah.
see, we don't want you number six and we don't want you number four because, see, that's how it feels. It's like
Sure.
for the wounded self, it's like you're number one. For the true self, you're number one with mom, right, and dad. And then you come back after you learn and you're going to the biological dad's house and you're coming back. So now you're number six of the children.
Sure.
Then you go
Sure.
over there, you're number one with dad, right? But then
Yeah.
you're number four.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
really, the
Interesting.
truth is you're number one.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Also,
wow. So
I
good.
wanna just speak a blessing over
Oh,
you.
good.
Oh, thank you.
Is
Yeah.
I'm truly believe that our greatest secrets are meant to become
Hmm.
our greatest treasures.
Mm.
And a secret is not something that nobody knows about. Oftentimes, a secret is something everybody knows about, but nobody talks about.
Ah,
Hmm.
yes.
And so you're already doing this, and you're going to be very successful in this next endeavor because your greatest secret is becoming or has become your greatest treasure.
Hmm.
You're already activating it. And it's the very places that have been the most shameful and the
Hmm.
most painful when we expose it to the light of day and we're willing to have healing occur to it, then it starts to become transformed from something that takes life to it starts
Mm.
giving life.
Hmm.
And when we find that groove and we start giving life from those deep places, we're so invested in it and we have so much compassion
Mm.
and we get rewarded for that because it's so real and so there's so much value being given. And I can see that without even knowing you really
Right.
well, that
Thank
you
you.
give so much value in
Yeah.
this very thing that's being transformed. And this is just another layer of transformation. But as you do that, value will be coming back. And so
Right.
so I just speak that blessing that your greatest secret has become your greatest treasure
Yeah.
and
Thank
that
you.
and to receive the value of that I give you permission to receive this is you walking in your purpose and to be compensated in ways by the world in abundant ways is just good and it's appropriate and it's beautiful and you are worthy of that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I that really means so much to me. And I love every word that you said and I receive that and accept that and I absolutely take that on as truth of what makes me part of my hero story as well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
good.
Well, let's go ahead and land the plane there.
Okay. So
So
good.
what's going to be your takeaway from today? Will you answer that question?
Mm.
Yeah.
I want, let's see, the thing that keeps hitting me is your your name, Richie, and number one. That's what keeps
Mm,
hitting me is that, you
That's
know,
our destiny.
yeah, it's her
It
destiny.
was our hidden destiny
Yeah.
that's now coming to
Yeah.
fruition.
That you're number one. Oh yeah, I mean, I got chills going up and down my legs. You're number, it's God's way of saying, yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you. You got it. You're listening. That you're
yes.
number one, and that you are rich, and you're not just
Mm,
rich. You're richy. Like there's lots of riches,
sure.
and
Sure.
that, ooh, and that is who God made you to be.
Thank you.
The leader, number one, the pair.
Mm, I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, the rich. You're rich. All success is yours.
Mm,
With no shame.
no shame.
No shame.
Yes. I love that. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah, what's your takeaway, Tara?
My takeaway, my goodness, really realizing how I've done a lot of work to heal myself and work through what I've needed to work through. However, I realize that I've not went to the depth that I really truly needed to in this area of my life. I've done the I want to say almost positive toxicity of it's okay, it's fine.
Hmm.
You got to have two dads and you got to have
Yeah.
this and this and this, so get over it. And I realized that that wasn't giving me permission
Hmm.
to really feel what I needed to feel and to accept that that was my story. And it wasn't allowing me to open up to see it in a way that I needed to see it that would give it the hero story capacity that it could for me. So I think that's my biggest takeaway is you really opened up to help me know how it's affected me more than I realize. And you've given me such fantastic tools of how to fully work through it.
Come on.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, my takeaway is I just saw so clearly that this secret that was kept from you for 8 years has really been transformed into a tremendous
Yeah.
treasure for you. And
Yeah.
so anyway, that's just, and I think that that's really part of finding our life purposes
Hmm.
is having that transformation occur. And now it's been transformed into something that you're
Hmm.
giving life to other people. So
Thank you.
beautiful,
Thank
Hmm.
beautiful.
you.
So if
Yeah.
someone wanted to get in touch with you, how would they connect with you?
So you can definitely find me on Facebook, just the typical social media platforms, Facebook and Instagram. It's on Facebook, it's Tara Wiskow. You'll find me. Instagram is at Tara.Wiskow. That little period is very important because the other profile, that algorithm is very confused. So I just started a new program, which fits perfectly that I'm an identity shifting expert. And also my website, tara-wisco.com. You can find me there.
Oh,
Oh,
that's wonderful.
well, we'd like to
Yes.
thank you all, audience, for
Yes.
joining us for Transform You. And we know that the work that's been done here, as you glean from it and
Hmm.
integrate some of the practical advice, you'll get the same benefits for you.
Mhm.
So thank you all so much for joining us. And until next time, we say what?
Have a voice. I have a voice.
Are you ready to embark on a journey of personal transformation and inner healing? Our intensive online coaching program is designed for individuals and couples seeking to reconnect with their true selves. Dive into our lessons, activations, live coaching calls, and educational readings tailored to uncover limiting beliefs, healing emotional wounds, and to cultivate a life filled with authenticity. Transform yourself, transform your relationships. It's time to transform you. See the description below to see how to join Transform You.